Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, my name's Austin. Welcome to my channel. I go through phases in life where I'll read like 10 books and then I'll just stop reading for months, and then I'll read 10 more books and then I'll just stop reading for months. And there's certain books that I have read in my life that have just made a profound impact on how I view the world or how I think or how I want to live my life. So in this video, I wanted to share 5 of those books that have changed my life and my thinking process. And this list was by far the easiest list that I have created because all of these books that I'm about to mention have just stood out so much in my life and have made profound impacts on my life. So let's start talking about the 5 books that have changed my life. So this first book is a book that has just really inspired me throughout my life to pursue my dreams and kind of take the road less traveled. And it's The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And I apologize because I'm not good at lighting, so it's right here. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And this book kind of just summarizes the hero's journey. And I think with all of us, if you decide that you want to take a risk in life, or you decide that you want to take the road less traveled to follow your heart and pursue your dreams, you go on this hero's journey. And on that journey, you have the destination in mind where you're supposed to reach this one point. But as you go on that journey, you face a lot of setbacks, you face a lot of trials, and you learn a lot of things along the way. And you realize how important all these little lessons and all these little things that you experience along the journey, how important they are to get to the destination. And kind of it makes you who you are as a person. And it's just an amazing book that just really inspires you to pursue your own personal legend, as Paulo Coelho calls it. But without this book, I honestly wouldn't be here talking to you because in the beginning of this YouTube thing, I almost gave up. But I kept pushing after I read this book, again, because it just came up in a time that I needed it. And it just inspired me to continue on the journey and kind of embrace everything along the way, because all those little things that you experience along that journey, along that hero's journey, are extremely important. So I highly recommend this book to anybody who is wanting to go on a journey in life to kind of transform themselves, to go on this hero's journey. It's an extremely inspiring book. So this next book talks about money, and it kind of just summarizes up my philosophy on money. And it's called Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin. And the author kind of describes money as life's energy, where if you make your money through a job or a salary, you're exchanging your time for money. So your money represents the energy, the life energy it took to make it. And it kind of talks about transforming or rethinking how you view money. Instead of viewing it as a means to buy something, viewing it as life's energy and being extremely cautious with how you use it so you can spend more time living the life that you want. Because you either spend your life trying to make money or you figure it out and you can spend your life living. And a lot of the stuff that I talk about in my videos actually comes from this book, or the book has kind of helped me put into words how I feel about money, because money is such a powerful tool. And I think that we often don't realize that if we can understand how money works and use it to our advantage in life, then we can just live life how we want to live it. So I highly recommend it. If you watch some of my videos, you'll see some of the stuff that I talk about in my videos, and it actually comes from this book. But it helps you transform the way you view money and how you think about money. And I think that once you kind of change that philosophy on how you want to spend your money, then your life can just change drastically. And this book just helps you doing that. So this next book is just a pure masterpiece, and it is the best fictional book that I have ever read in my life. And it's the book Shantaram by Gregory David Roberts. And if you just look at the book, it is a monster of a book. It is over 1,000 pages. So if you want to read a long book, then this is the book for you. And it's a fictional book, but everything that's in that story is based off something that's true. It's based off this person's life. And I'm not going to spoil it or anything, and all this stuff I'm about to say is mentioned on the first page. But it's basically about this Australian bank robber in the 70s that escaped from a maximum security prison in Australia and became Australia's most wanted man. And he escaped from prison, and then he went to India, and he ultimately lived there for about 10 years. And he got involved in all these things where he lived in a slum because he lost all of his money. He got involved in the mafia. He got to Indian prison. He went to war. He started to forge passports. It is just an extremely wild book. It will just make anybody's life look dull. And if you just want to get away, this is the book for you. But be prepared, because it is a monster of a book. But I cannot speak more highly of this book. But if you watch my videos, you know that I use a lot of quotes in my videos because I just love quotes and I think that they're extremely inspirational. And this book just churns out quotes like you wouldn't believe. I mean, every single page of this book is just perfection. I believe that the author, he eventually got recaptured and he had to finish his sentence in Australia. But I'm pretty sure that he wrote the book when he was in prison. So you can obviously tell that he took a lot of time to write this book. In every single page, there is not one single page that isn't perfection. I mean, it's just an extremely deep book. It's great for anybody that just wants to get away and go on this extreme adventure that will just make anybody's life look dull. So Shantaram by Gregory David Roberts. I highly, 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 I cannot speak more highly of this book. So this next book is a personal finance book that talks about index funds and investing, and it's called The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. And this book has just really kind of inspired me, or kind of guided me on how I want to do investing in my life through index funds. And so the book was written by J.L. Collins, and he wrote it for his daughter because his daughter said that she's not interested in money and she doesn't want to spend her life just thinking about money all the time. And he says that's exactly why you need to invest, and specifically invest in index funds. And he talks about all these different strategies that people use to invest and all these different risks that people take. But ultimately, the best way to invest over time in the long term is through index investing. And it's the simple path to wealth because it's so simple that anybody could do it and you don't even have to think about it. But he kind of defends why he thinks that index investing is one of the best forms of investing and why everyone should invest in that over stocks, and how in the long term, your money is always going to grow. Because a lot of times you see people talking about investing and they talk about trading and kind of get rich quick schemes, but this book is more of a realistic path to wealth and making money that it's just so easy that you don't even have to think about it. So if you're interested in learning about investing and kind of getting started in investing without having to take an extreme amount of risk or develop a lot of time to investing, then this book is for you. It's called The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins, and I highly recommend it to anybody who wants to learn a little bit about investing in the stock market on a very, very basic level. Now, the fifth and final book that is on my list of 5 books that have changed my life is a book that has really just challenged the way I think about science, religion, spirituality, logic, and reason, and storytelling. And the book is called The Life of Pi by Yann Martel. And you might have heard about this book. It was made into a movie a while back. But it's an extremely simple book. But with its simplicity, it goes extremely deep because in a way it challenges science and religion, where oftentimes we think that these two things overlap, but the reality is they don't. Because science often tries to question the hows of the world, tries to answer the hows of life. But religion attempts to answer the whys of life, and they're kind of seeking entirely different things. And then science is based off logic and reason, and religion, most of the time, or pretty much all the time, is based off stories in trying to tell things through certain stories. And so the book is kind of this grand adventure that this Indian boy goes on that kind of challenges a lot of things that he believes and that he ends up kind of sticking to on this journey. And it's a grand adventure where he gets trapped on this lifeboat with a Bengal tiger trying to survive in the ocean, which I think that he survives about 200 days. But this book has had kind of really changed my view of how I approach spirituality or kind of religion or even science. Because the author, when you watch interviews of the author talking about the book, he kind of talks about how when you live in a Western society, we focus so much on logic and reason, and economics dictate society. And when you live in a society like this for so long, it kind of dries you out and kind of takes life out of you. And when you go to a country like India that focuses so much on stories and kind of imagination, it just brings so much life to you. And when you're faced with these two realities where you don't really get answers from either of them, you might as well choose the better story, because that ultimately leads to a richer life. And it kind of makes me want to embrace stories in my life and use imagination. So I highly recommend that book, Life of Pi by Yann Martel. And those are the 5 books that have changed my life. And I hope that you can pick them up, get them from your library or whatever, and just read them, because they are incredible books. And I would love it if you can comment down below and tell me some books that have changed your life, because I'm always looking for some great books to read. So, muchas gracias, que tenga un buen día, nos vemos, chico.